Welcome back to the Social Distance Podcast. It's Tuesday, 25th of June, so we're 4 days out from the Tour de France starting. We've got Luke Durbridge, who joins us on the show today. He's heading to the Tour de France for his 10th time, which is pretty impressive, with the Australian team, Jayco-Alula. So we talked to him about the demands of the Tour de France. How has he started to manage it better than he used to 10 years ago? We dived heavily into nutrition and the change and the impact, positive impact that's had on him, being able to survive his Tour de France as well. We give him shit about his haircut. Actually, a good haircut. Just needs one.
I'm just jealous.
It's a good episode with Durbo talking about the Tour de France and his 10th one, and how their team's going to manage stage objectives with Dylan Groenewegen, Michael Matthews, and GC bid with Simon Yates. So tune in and enjoy it.
And we've also got good news, Bulls. Our mates at NordVPN, because we're coming up the Tour de France. A lot of people want to use a VPN to get commentary from different parts of the world. So they're going to roll out their promotion where you get an extra 4 months free. You just go to nordvpn.com and put in /social distance. And then you're going to be able to activate that code, mate.
Perfect. You can watch Tour de France coverage from anywhere in the world now.
Let's just run the intro and wing it like we always do and see what comes out of it.
Let's get ready to rumble! Front kick.
Just getting bored and basketball chat.
My radar's going pretty hard at the moment. I think we should...
Will you shut up, man?
That escalated quickly.
We're going to need to get some more qualified guests on the show, eh?
We're how far out from the Durbo's making toast. We've got Luke Durbridge on the show today, which you would have just heard in the intro, which we do after the show, Durbo, just to fill you in. So how far are we? We're 5 days from the Tour de France, and we're just talking to Durbo off air about the pre-race, pre-Tour de France haircuts. Because if he just tilts his hair down a bit, there's some serious thickness there. There's no way.
Thick.
There's no way that you can get through the Tour de France with that.
No, I couldn't look at that. I've been holding off. It's quite good. I'm looking straight out of Fallout Boy.
Have you got a go-to barber you go to, Durbo? You're very particular.
I do actually. Yeah. He's pretty good. Just what's his name? John and Mary. It's called. So obviously they cut, John and Mary's hair. But we don't judge anyone.
No
else.
offense. I don't remember you ever having much variation in your trims. You've always been a bit of a short back and sides, bit of a wave on the top.
I always go to one side. I always go to this side, and then I just short. Yeah, sort of. I'd say, what'd you say, like a classic Belgie.
Yeah,
classic Belgie. Classic Jens Kukelia. That sort of vibe.
Well, given this year's your 10th Tour de France, why don't you do what Baden Cook did in 2005, and he literally went all out and got a mohawk before the start of the tour? Just do something different.
I have noticed a lot of peroxide hairs coming back. Have you noticed that?
Tips,
a lot of just not even tips, just full on Junior Worlds Australian team spec. I could do that.
That's more your 20s though. I think if you do that once you're in your 30s, I think you look like a bit of a tryhard.
So 10th tour, Durbo. That's impressive. So you've been pro for, if my calculations are right, this is your 12th, or you signed pro in 2012.
13.
So 13th year pro. So I'm just trying to, I always was under the impression that you'd race a tour every year since you were pro. That's obviously not right. I know 1 year you didn't race was in 2020 when you could have done the Tour de France, but you decided to focus on the World's Time Trial, which thankfully allowed me to go to the Tour de France for the one time I did it.
Perfect.
And
no
then,
worries,
when else did you miss it?
I guess so. 12 and 13, I didn't do it because I was Neo Pro.
You raced the Giro.
I raced the Giro in 13, and then I started the tour 14, all the way through 14 until 2020, when we didn't do it that year. And then I haven't finished 2. I broke my ankle stage 1. You were there, Jonesy, in Germany. And then I got 2 years ago, I got COVID stage 12 or something. So not bad.
Not bad at all. 10 tours is a lot. It
goes by pretty quick, yeah.
Yeah, I had this question the other day. I was doing an interview about our team, and because in our team this year we've got 4 first year tour debutants. Yeah, and so the question was like, what is it a risk, or I can't remember exactly the word for word, but like taking, because we're taking like Stevie Williams, Derek G, Pascal Ackerman, and Jake Stewart, and 3 of those guys are there, specifically to try to win stages. And the question was like, is it a risk to take a debutant with such expectations to the Tour de France because of how big the show is, and that, obviously that's right, that the show is like 10 times bigger than any other race in the world. Of course, those guys have raced Grand Tours before, but they're different to the Tour de France. And I did it only in 2020, which was COVID year, but that was still an eye opener for me, like how big the show really is. But like going to the Tour for your 10th time, does it still feel like, I mean, maybe overwhelming is not the right word, but like, does it still feel like that big show? Or are you like kind of, it's just another tour now, you're just used to it?
Just senile old man now. No, 100% is a big show. I think that's why, like there's so many times you've done the tour and you're just like, I won't do it this year, because it's the big show. So you sort of like, you get to the start of the season, you're like, well, actually, what are the goals of this year? You're like, I want to do the Tour de France, because like it doesn't get much better than rolling on the Champs-Elysees, rolling down the Champs-Elysees, the jets fly over, and you've finished another super hard 3 weeks. And I guess growing up as a kid in Australia, you sort of only really got like the tour and maybe a couple of classics on TV. So you sort of, that was your connection to professional cycling. And Bills, when you're there, like the crowds, it's just like, they're not necessarily cycling fans, they're tour fans. So yeah, no, every year I still get a bit like nervous that I'm not going to make the team, like still like, we've got to really work hard here and try and like put my best foot forward so I get selected. And yeah, so every time I get the phone call from Matt White, which is the director in our team, he's just like, well, hey, Derby, you're coming to the tour. And I'm always like, oh, thank you, mate. I'm really excited. Like, and I am. I'm like as my first. I guess I'm not as overwhelmed as my first. Like now, I only get nervous about not necessarily the physicality of making it to the end of the tour. I get nervous about not being able to do my job. That's sort of like, because the tour is so much pressure and there's so much like, it's so difficult to even get to the front. Like the race starts like 90K out before the finish. It's about being able to do my job while I've been selected to the tour. That's what makes me nervous to go into the tour. Like, can I do that? But the physical thing of like making it to the end, I'm not overly concerned about, because I know how to do that. But yeah.
But given your highlight was the planes flying over and finishing on the Champs, maybe this could have been a year where you said no for me, given that it finishes in Nice.
Does it finish in Nice? No.
No, but it's a good point you were saying before about feeling the pressure of your role. That being said, given that your role is primarily to help others, if the other people aren't getting the results, do the whole team feel that? And how do you overcome that as a group?
Super, super difficult. Good question, Jonesy. Like in terms of like, it's one of the hardest environments and probably one of the worst environments to be in the tour when things aren't going well. And I've done tours before when we've had really bad crashes, just can't get the result, and the pressure builds every day, and then you start to do desperate shit, and it's just like, I think it was 2021. We were going pretty good. We're going for the green jersey for Bling. We ran second in heaps of stages. Bling was right there, but Cavendish ended up holding on to win the green jersey. And like, it could have gone either way. We could have won one stage, and then Cavendish, we thought, was going to go home because he had showed no level to get through the Tour de France, and we would have got the green jersey. So all of a sudden, just that sliding door moment would have been like, Cav went home, we won a stage, would have been one of our best tours we've had. Instead, we didn't win a stage. We came back empty-handed. Nothing happened, and it was just horrible. Like, and we're all just sitting there like, what do we do? Like, we're trying as hard as we can, but we can't get a result. But that's just because the tour is so important for teams to get results in. So if you can start the first week I mean, you're going to be telling your boys this, Phils, I'm sure, but like you start the first week with a bang, and then it just things start rolling. You know, in one year we won 4 stages, and it was just amazing. You know, we just like started with Darryl Impey, and then after that it was just like floodgates open, and we just couldn't. Everything we touched turned to gold, and that was just one of the best experiences. So
I mopped up on
way.
the punt that year because I used to ring Matty Wilson and go, "Who's going in the break today, mate?" He goes, "Oh, I reckon Imps is going to have a crack." I go, "Ooh." And like I was getting them at like 30-1, and then I can't get a cycling bet on in Australia anymore. I've been blacklisted.
Yeah, well, fair enough. That's like insider trading.
Is a little
yeah.
Did you still actually work for Grange at the time? You did.
Yeah, I was still doing the videos.
Probably should cut that.
Probably should cut that.
No, that was 2020.
Yeah,
You still owe me that.
They'll never catch you.
Nah, that's it. I'm still blacklisted. I can't get a bet on, so I've served me time.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
it's outside the statutes of limitations.
That's
now.
it.
Yeah,
that's it. Oh.
I was going to say, like the tour, like with Dervo was saying, like there's a pressure on getting results or actually, there's only one result you can get at the Tour de France when it comes to what teams expect, and that's to win a stage at the bare minimum. You know, obviously some teams it's to win the overall Tour de France. For most teams, it's to win the stage. But it's maybe it's not the only, but it could well be the only race that team owners and team sponsors expect to win. You know, that's the expectation. It's not even like it'd be great to win. It's like we fucking expect to win here because this is why we own this team. This is why we sponsor this team. This is where we're going to get 75% or whatever it is of our exposure across a whole season. These 3 weeks create so much more exposure than any other race. So it's like an actual expectation to win. And that pressure falls on all teams. And like all teams approach the Tour de France differently. Like obviously there's, 3 or 4 teams that approach it with the expectation of winning the Tour de France. And then there's a whole bunch of teams with the expectation of winning a stage. And our team, for example, this year, like our expectation is to win a stage, and that's our objective. That's our sole objective, is to win a stage. And we have a team spread across with the 8 riders we have. We've tried to spread ourselves to give ourselves opportunity across multiple different days. But another question I had in this interview was, is it hard to manage that in the sense that we have a sprinter? So we've got a group around Ackerman for the sprints, and then we've got a group of riders going to stages that are outside of sprints. But for me, that's easy to manage because it's the same objective. It's to win a stage. So you can use guys across each stage in different ways to try to achieve that objective. But for your team, Durbo, I guess the question is more relevant. Like, is it harder to manage? This is assuming that Simon Yates is going for GC. I don't know if that's true or not, but if he is, like he was last year,
I heard he's flying.
Is it harder to manage trying to win stages from sprints, obviously with Dylan Groenewegen, then trying to manage winning stages with Bling across the hardest, more select finishes, and manage a GC objective? Like that seems like it would be a harder puzzle to piece together.
I think, it is challenging, but I think it goes back to the personality of the GC rider. Like we've worked for GC riders before, and you worked for Simon Yates a lot of the time, a lot of your career. So you know how chilled Simon is when it comes to a GC rider. He's probably an exception. He likes to have his days where he might have 1 or 2 guys around him that just sort of get him through the sprint stages, and it's not like 7 riders in front of him, on the front doing a Primoz Roglic, like huge stress. Oh my God, I'm going to lose 1 second here, 1 second there. Simon's just like, look, I'm just going to be in the bunch. He's got great bike skills. Give me 1 or 2 guys in case something happens. And I'll just get through. The rest of you guys can concentrate on supporting Dylan Groenewegen or Michael Matthews to try and win a stage. And over the last couple of years, every time we go to a race with a dual objective or a 3 objective, Simon performs the best. I think he likes it. I think he likes the idea of having just on the days where he can switch off, he can really switch off. It's not that everyone's. I don't think he likes everyone looking at him like going, "Oh, what do you need now, Simon? What do you need now? What do you need now? He's like, just fuck off, really. Like, I just need to chill out for a second. Like, tomorrow I'm going to really switch on and go for it. Today I'm just going to get through. And but other GC guys, I think they're just so stressed, and you can see that's why a lot of them crash out, because some of these crashes they're having, because they're just on normal sprint stages, are just like so stressed about missing, like losing time or things like that. So for us, it's pretty cool. It's like, oh yeah, Simon's there, he's just doing his thing, and we're going to really go in for Dylan. And yeah, I personally, for my role, I love it, because there's nothing worse than doing a Tour de France stage when you've got nothing to do, because you're just suffering, and you just got absolutely nothing to do. Like, the worst is when Way's like, all right, boys, day's off today. You probably have the hardest day of your life. So for me, like, every single day I've got something to do from the day one until the end, and the tour just flies by. You've just got to, like, okay, support Simon today, support Dylan next day, Matthews the next day. And yeah, before you know it, 21 stages have gone by, and I think, like, you've got to hedge your bets with the tour. Like, you guys have brought, like, a big hit list of riders from Israel to try and win a stage. You spread across all different riders' styles, because you need to. The tour, it's so hard to win a stage. You need to bring those multiple options. Like, everyone's like, well, why would you bring Dylan, Matthews and Yatesy? I'm like, well, because to win one thing at the tour, you're going to need to do that. And unless you've got Pogacar or Jonas Vingegaard, like, even Bora's taken like a big, multiple selection. They've taken Jai and Vlasov, and like, they've got options. Even though Roglic is Roglic, they haven't gone in with just Roglic as the option. They've got actually 3 options, because it's so difficult to win.
Yeah. And like, there's only really, like, those two, almost those 2 or 3 teams this year that, like, for example, Quick-Step, they've got arguably the fastest sprinter in the world this year, Tim Merlier. One of the fastest, at least, close to Milan.
Sure.
He's won a lot of races this year. Like, he could easily win a Tour de France sprint. Potentially multiple.
He has before, so for sure he can.
But they leave him at home because they need to put the whole team around Remco, and then Jumbo or Visma now as well. Like, they've got Olav Koy, who's also one of the fastest sprinters in the world. They leave him at home because they need to put the whole team around Jonas. So, like, those are the exceptions, those teams that do that. But otherwise, like you say, the other teams, and they've got the luxury of doing that because they pretty well know they're going to win a stage with with their climbers.
True, yeah.
And
they've got to win something, yeah.
But the other teams don't quite fall in the same category, because they know that when you get to the high mountains, if you're racing from the group and the breakaway hasn't been successful that day, most likely that stage winner is going to go to, at least in the past, to Pogacar or Vingegaard. So you lose those options of stages if you're riding GC to some degree. So I can understand why other teams, especially your team, come with a bit of a spread. And also, like you say, Simon's personality is he doesn't need 8 guys around him. He's happy with just a couple each day, and then he gets the job done generally 9 times out of 10.
Hey, Durbo, have you noticed over 10 years that as it's gone along the journey, that your body, and both physically and mentally, it gets easier to deal with the tour, or has the style of racing counteracted that, and every year just feels harder and harder?
It's a challenge. Like, I think it gets to a point where you a first couple of tours you're like on your limit. Like, I might not make it through, and because you've had some bad experiences, and like, I remember the first couple of tours I was just like, oh my god, like, you just feared the mountains, and then you shape. The racing is such a high level now. I'd still say the tour is like so fast, compared to back in 2012. It's a lot faster now, but I think I'm in a better place in terms of, like, back then I was making a lot of mistakes, like nutritional mistakes, hydration mistakes. The data that we have now, you shouldn't be making mistakes. We've just got so much feedback from nutritionists, coaches, everything's been analysed. We're weighing
What's
your
the biggest
food.
change you had to make with the nutrition? Because that fascinates me. Because we went from making those Jonesy specials with the rice that was just loaded with honey, tuna, salt. Like, fill your boots, eat till you barf.
You would blow your mind, Jonesy. Now, like I think I was talking on the other Life in the Peloton podcast with Mitch the other day. Was like, it's actually ridiculous, the nutrition. Like, we've seen it too. It was like when we started in 2012, we're talking like a gel an hour. Like one gel and a bowl an hour or something like that. And
a glass of water
now,
with breakfast, that'll get you through the stage.
Exactly. Or you just do this, like we'd have remember Jonesy, we used to have lots of avocados and coconut butter and stuff like that.
Yep.
Now it's just like carb is king. And it's like, I'm talking like we're eating, it's not a lot of food because there's so much carb dense options, but we're having like 120 grams, maybe more per hour, which is save the gels we used to have back then, Jonesy. That's like having.
Oh, it'd be three times more.
It's like six gels maybe. 6 gels an hour.
It'd be 3 times more, I reckon, than what we would have been having 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
But how do you get that in? What sort of foods are you getting? Because there's the balance then of like you can't
just said
have
6 gels.
Yeah, but you just having gels.
You don't eat 6 gels. So nowadays you'd say the gel we had back then, you can have like 1 gel, which is like 3 gels. So you'd have 1 gel and a bottle that has double the amount of carbs that we used to. And that'll get you there. So you're not consuming, I think, more food in that sense, but they're just so carb dense. Like the technology of nutrition, the nutritional products has just gone like through the roof, which means like you're getting to the end of the race and no one's tired. So like that's why the racing's so fast. Like you keep throwing wood on the fire, and it's just like, and it's just like never running out.
I remember talking to Heyman at Tour of Switzerland last year. We were at the managers meeting for Tour of Swiss, and we were talking about nutrition, and he was like, all those times that we thought we were just fucked at end of races, we just hadn't eaten.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, yeah, you're
so
right,
true.
actually. Yeah.
Like your legs don't get sore. Like you'd be like so sore after the stage. Like, oh, my legs are so sore. Like, oh man, that must be the hardest day of my life. You're like, yeah, because you just didn't eat enough carbs. Like now you get to the end of like day 19, you're like, yeah, my legs feel pretty much like the start.
Do you still drink like a couple glasses of wine every night like we used to 10 years ago? Or has that changed as well?
The carb dense wine.
Was it Swano and I used to get those little bottles, little travel bottles, and I was like, I think it was like second or third Grand Tour, and I just like full old man spec, like I brought those tiny little bottles so me and Swano have a little nip before bed so we could go to sleep.
I would wonder why we wake up inflamed.
Imagine that, just like a neo pro bringing like 6 bottles of wine to a race so you can have a nip before bed. You're like, how old are you, mate?
My first year pro with Radio Shack, I was rooming with this guy, J-Mac, this American dude. He was a legend.
Yeah, I remember J-Mac.
One of my first ever races, and I was like in the room with him, and he's like, all right, mate, time to shut it down. I was like, yeah, I'm tired. So the lights would go off, and then I'd just hear, and he'd just crack a can of beer, and he'd just bring beer from home so he could have one every night, like lights out to go to sleep.
Who was the rider that brought a suitcase full of Duvals to a race and had it planned out like one Duval a night? Was it Ween Dog or something?
Probably Mitch.
Mitch.
I
Yeah,
I wouldn't
probably Mitch. Yeah, probably Mitch. Oh man, but yeah, no, definitely changed significantly, and I think like it's you either get on board or you stop. Because you're like you've got to. Like there's no like I think I was explaining this to Mitch the other day. Like, there's no enjoyment in eating anymore. That was always the enjoyment part. I'm like, well, it's not. It's actually just you come down and you've got your weighed portion for the day, and you eat that. And there's just like everything is controlled. Your sleep is controlled.
So what about dinners though? It's like Nicky's spreads were famous back in the day, where you'd have like mooses and slow cooked meats and.
Yeah, because like Durbo's saying, it's like back then and there's still an element of it, I'd say, like the psychological impact of having a nice meal. Like the food's
not terrible. We've got a great Italian chef, and he's fantastic. Like the food's awesome. Like some of the best pastas I've ever eaten. But we're not talking like we used to. Nicky used to make us sushi and tacos and burgers and stuff like that. Not
it was
anymore.
it was like morale, and it was awesome because like it did give you morale because you looked forward to dinner every night and there's always going to be something nice. And that still happens. There's the chefs and Nicky's in our team now, actually.
Yeah.
They're still
Till you
great
got
chefs.
piped the next day.
Yeah, but it's a different purpose now, dinner, as it used to be.
You can't tell someone back then, like, hit them over the head with what was wrong. That was what we knew. That was the knowledge we had. And like these are like Nicky was at studied AIS, like it was state of the art nutrition. Like it wasn't like bad food, but it was just now I think and realize that it's just the carbs are so important that pretty much everything else takes second fiddle. And and then I guess it's just also just trying to maintain the level throughout the Grand Tour because as soon as you start to dehydrate or under fuel, you're pretty sure not to be able to move off the wheel.
And like also that was like there's always that conversation about like putting like often in the Grand Tour, and you would have seen it, Jonesy, as well in some of your years with the team, like riders like putting on massive amounts of weight overnight in some cases, and that was just because
remember Albacini one year put on 7 kilos because his liver was cooked.
No, but it's like it's water, like this water retention that comes with fatigue, and again going back to it, like a large part of the fact that people were putting this water weight on overnight in some cases was because they weren't recovering, because they weren't fueling. So like it's this actually this quite contradicting thing. Like 100%. The less you eat, potentially the heavier you get,
the more weight you're putting on.
Yeah, because you'll restore that fluid. Whereas if you eat more, your body will recover. And like fuck, man, at the end of the day, you're doing some of these stages. Like you're burning, like in Durbo's case, you might be burning between 5,500 and 7,000 calories. So like, good luck. There's not really many instances where you're going to go to bed that night and go, fuck, I'm 2,000 calories more than I burnt today, because it's just copious amounts of food. But the closer you can get to that, the better you recover and the better you avoid that water.
I reckon Bling got close one year when Mihar the Swanee was feeding him secret tubs of Pringles. Remember when he was doing really well? I think it was 16. Maybe.
This is just like, we should just call this episode Name and Shame. Like,
no, really just fucking drop. Well, Jones is the only one who keeps just dropping.
Who's come up? Matt Wilson.
Well, I'm just trying to make
Mitch,
Albacini,
Mihar, Albacini.
Who else have we got on the list? I'll just keep going through the whiteboard here.
Yeah, poor Alba's liver. Like, Jesus, what did he do?
Yeah, but we talked about it on the backstage. It was common news.
It's fine. Yeah. We don't cut anything.
But what I want to ask is, who led the revolution with food? Because obviously I'm big passionate about food. And
Jumbo.
I've lived. Yeah, that's what I heard a couple of years ago.
A bit like, I guess when Simon lost the jersey to Froomey, like they put that down to just like this insane carbohydrate tactic. Like they had bottles here who's eating 120 grams an hour. That was like sort of like. In the people were hearing these whispers of like, how is he getting that much carbs in? Like, that's not possible. Like, this is ridiculous, right? So I think that was sort of where it started, but it wasn't like a whole team was like across it. And then Jumbo really pushed forward. And I think Jumbo were probably the only teams to get the whole team to buy in on it. They were the first people you'd come down to dinner and you'd see them, and they'd have scales and weighed out portions, and we were just looking at like, oh man, fuck being on Jumbo, like that would be so bad, like. And
they were shit back then as well. You're like, fuck, look at these guys doing this fucking stupid stuff, and they're the worst team in the peloton.
Yeah, they're not even winning stages past the wine fuels.
yeah, fuck, they're useless, that team. And then you're like, they were onto it.
They were onto it. Like it's funny that like even to do fasted rides quite a lot, me and you, and like I would not do a single fasted ride these days, and I'm like I'd say my weight is better. I'm skinnier pretty much all the year. I feel better. Like it's crazy. Like I'm eating way more than I used to, and I'm in better shape than I used to. So it's like Bill said, like because your body's under stress, you're literally just holding onto this fluid. So it's just pretty much your body's in a nice state. It doesn't feel stressed. So it's like, oh, okay, well, now you're training hard. I'll adapt to the training. But when you're not fueling, you don't adapt to the training, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
How you? I was just going to say, how are you feeling, Bills, this year's tour not being on NBC? It's a big shake up from last year, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, who took your spot?
I do know who it is. I don't know if they've announced it though, so I probably shouldn't.
Mate, just name him. Who cares?
And then I don't think anyone really gives a fuck who's listening to the show, to be honest.
No.
Jonesy took the spot.
Yeah. No, that was fun. I enjoyed doing that last year, and but the overwhelming reason why I'm not doing it is because I'm having a baby. I didn't want to. I'm going to a tour with the team, obviously, but I'm going to have to leave early. I'll probably leave after 2 weeks or something. And because Hannah's due the last day of the Tour de France, or the day after the Tour de France finishes. So that was the overwhelming reason why I couldn't go to the States, because I didn't want to be that far away in case shit hit the fan, you know. Well, not shit hit the fan, but action time came earlier than we expect. Yeah. But also, yeah, I'm going with the team this year as well, and that's my job. And really looking forward to it. Actually, I think we've got a cool team, a team that's like, you know, like I was saying earlier in the show, we've got good opportunities across the whole tour, and obviously some of our guys who have been, you know, who really stepped up this year, like Derek G, for example, finishing third at the Dauphiné. Like he's taken a massive step up, which has actually probably created more options for us because of his ability to climb with the best guys now. So so we've got good confidence, I reckon, going in. I've done a few recons actually, Durbo. I went in recon stage 15 yesterday. Mm-hmm. That's fucking hard, that stage.
Is it the one down near Andorra?
Yeah, finished in Plateau de Bay.
Plateau de Bay, yeah.
I reconned all of it, and then I got to the bottom of Plateau de Bay, and the road was closed. Couldn't go up.
Well, they're resurfacing it.
Fucking kidding. Yeah, they're resurfacing, I think. But anyway, that's pretty simple, that climb to know. But geez, it's a hard stage, that one. Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a big transfer after that to Carcassonne, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But that stage, like, sort of reminds me now of what we were just talking about before, about like how you deal with the Tour de France now compared to 10 years ago. And obviously the nutrition was a overwhelming subject about it. But also, like, I think as you get older, and this is also something that happens, which goes back to talking about these guys who haven't raced a tour before, like you learn how to manage the Tour de France as well. So you learn, you start to understand what's coming up later in the stage, and you also understand what's coming up the next day, and you also understand what you can offer throughout a stage. So you know where, like, you understand like time cuts and all of these sorts of things, and how the bunch goes and how they're going to race the first climb and all of these sorts of things. And that management is really important, because you know, like, okay, for example, on stage 15, you're going to be like, I'm not sure how deep you've looked at the tour, but I hazard a guess that when you look at that stage the night before or whatever, you're gonna go, okay, I got to go fucking full gas up Col de Peyrasourde and make sure I get over there in the best group possible. Because if I do that, then I manage the stage really well, and then you get the head start on the gruppetto, and then when you get to the second to last climb or whatever, and you know you're not going to make it over with the front group, you don't have to kill yourself to make it over in the second group or the third group. You can actually just park it and ride easy from there to the finish. And the gruppetto might catch you, but you've had that head start and you can go easy. And there's all those different ways of managing it that the younger guys sometimes don't realize or understand, and they just race every day hard, and then eventually they go, fuck, get to stage 15 and they're fucked. And then the first guy dropped on Col de Peyrasourde, and then the stage becomes very difficult. So it's about like understanding how to manage the tour as well, which comes with time as well. Like I remember even in time trials and you know, once I started getting towards like 8, 9, 10, 11 grand tours, I was like, okay, I know exactly how fast to ride this time trial to finish as close as possible to last place and make the time cut, you know? But that was stuff that you learn. Whereas like 4 or 5 years earlier, I would have ridden that time trial 60 watts harder because I was shitting myself, so I was going to miss the time cut. I'd make the time cut by 6 minutes and I'd be fucked from the time trial. And then the next day be a mountain stage. So like, it's all about understanding how to manage it. And that's what happens, I think, Durbo, when you've done 10 of them, I guess.
You you'll definitely see guys that are just taking their stride. Like you've got 4 debutants, which was quite interesting because you'll see one guy that probably might get overwhelmed. Probably guaranteed there'll be one guy who'd be like maybe underperformed what you thought. Hopefully not, but like maybe will, because the tour just got the best of him. Like in Florence, it was just like there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people, and the noise is insane, and to get to the front is so difficult, and all those things, and they'll just get overwhelmed, and that's also fine. Then you have other guys that just will completely take it in their stride. This is the big show. I'm meant to be here, and they'll perform on their first tour. So it's very interesting. Like I think I honestly got overwhelmed my first one. But my first one was in London, and that was like
it was massive,
insane. To be fair, probably the most people we've ever had at a Tour de France stage. So that was just like, oh my god.
Did you see when I gave Mourinho the blow up guitar out the front of the bus that day?
Yeah, that's right.
Jose Mourinho was there, and he was doing a presser, and I was just sort of, oh bugger it, I'll give him a blow up guitar, and gave it to him, and he was sort of stuck. He wanted to give it back, but I already bolted. So here he is walking with a Greenwich. I remember Yates brothers are going, fucking hell, mate. You know who that is? That's a chosen one.
You don't do that to bloody hell. Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, no, the first debutant, the first Tour de France riders are quite funny in Group Pedo. They're so stressed, because they so want to go to Paris, or they so want to finish the tour. They're just like, are we safe? Are we safe? Like, and you're like, yeah, mate, we're okay. Just keep riding like this. We should be fine. Like, I guess that pressure of like, you will go out the arse if you're not, top 10 GC guy at one point. And I think last year was like quite funny. We had our first debutant was Elmar Reinders, a Dutch rider on our team. And we come off this descent, and it was like super hard. Like I'm talking like first 20K was just ridiculous. And we raced down this descent super fast. And it was like one of those days you're like, maybe it won't slow down, So if you get dropped here, you got like 180K of like pretty hard swap off to make time limit, And we come off the descent, and I saw him, and I was like, actually, this guy, it's his first Tour de France, he is so desperate. He will never lose this wheel. Like he knows that if he's going out the bunghole, he might not make it to Paris. So I got to his wheel, and then he just he closed it. Like there was, I think Louis Menchez or something opened up the gap, and I'm like, he will die on his sword to close this gap because of the desperation.
Yeah.
And he got on there. I think we were the last 2 guys to make it. And look, that group that got hooped, they never came back. I mean, they made time cut just, but it was quite funny. He relied on his desperation of his first Tour de France. You're like, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, oh, well, I guess I'm having a hard day out the back. But for him, it was just like, I am not doing that.
Yeah. I remember the Giro last year. I was trying to help the debutants there, like just manage the Giro a little bit. And I said to Derek G on one stage, I think it was the stage to Gran Sasso, like in the first 10 days of the tour of the Giro. I said to him, like, okay, look, today's not a day for the breakaway. It's going to be won by GC group. So when we get to Gran Sasso, which is like a 40K climb to the finish, it's a monster. I said, do you know who Michael Hepburn is? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, just follow Heppy, because he'll know exactly when to sit up. He'll know exactly when to park it. He'll know exactly what the safe group is and all of that sort of stuff. So I said, just follow Heppy. And then it was a day that Heppy decided to try and go real deep on the climb. And then I was just like following the car, and I was like, it's like 50 guys left, and Derek and Heppy are still there at the back. I was like, oh, fuck's sakes, Heppy. Stitched up my guy.
Hey, Durbo, given that you eat better during the tour and you're basically left with more reserves when you get to Paris, does that mean that the after parties are more fun because you got more in the tank? Or is everyone getting too old and serious now where they just shut it down and get the old stretches?
You wouldn't like it as much, like everyone's got another race to go to. Everyone packs up and goes home.
Durbo's got a 7-month-old to go back to. He doesn't want to go home hung.
Yeah,
he's on morning duty.
Getting a bit old. Look, I'd love to, but it doesn't happen as much as it used to. So we'll see. So this
duplex
time around.
Done.
What happened?
Well,
what happened
won't
last
be
year?
this year either, but
last year we tried,
duplex.
but yeah, duplex. Yeah, did we go out last year? Something happened last year. I can't remember.
It's also late as well. Like the time the stages finish these days, they finish at 9 p.m. Then you hang around in the Champs-Elysees or wherever it may be for half an hour. Then you go to a team dinner, and the next thing you know, it's midnight and everyone's fucking tired. And anyway, Durbo's got to go in a minute, so he's got an appointment. So I just want to. I think hopefully it's for a haircut. Before you go, quickly, Durbo.
Fucking galah.
Just like shoot from the hip. Who's going to win the tour?
Pog
Nice.
Just.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's too short, mate. He's $1.41. Not interested.
Yeah. It's a bit like last year. You know, Jonas had the shape, and Pogba was coming from an injury. Just don't think he's got enough time. If Jonas can put him away with having the amount of time, it's pretty impressive.
My smoky for the podium is Simon Yates, $18.50. I heard he's absolutely flying.
I'd agree with that. Yep.
Nice.
I'd back that in.
Yep.
My smoky for the podium is 123 UAE.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. I don't know if you can box those.
Adam Almeida Pog?
Maybe, yeah. I don't think it's going to happen, but like I wouldn't be completely surprised if it did.
Full Mape spec.
Before you go, Durbo, last one from me. How's parenthood, mate? Little Henry, what's he, 6 months now?
Yeah, just under. So he is good. My parents are here at the moment, so we got a little date night last night, which is good. Get out with the missus. You can see my eyes are just constantly black now. I don't bother thinking this is anything different. But no, it's great. It's great fun. It's solid. It is solid. No one really tells you. But, you know, Bills, just save up that sleep. But no. Henry's going good. We're very lucky with him, and he's healthy. He's happy. So
good stuff.
It's good. It's really good, Jonesy. Thank you.
Yeah, nice work, mate. All right, appreciate you coming on the potty, Derbs.
For your appointment. I'll see you in Florence in a few days.
Yeah, look forward to it. Not going to see you over there, Jonesy, this year?
No, mate. I haven't been invited back. Don't know what's
Still
going on there.
blacklisted from that under.
Maybe I'm just throwing too many people under the bus. I need to stop naming names.
I mean, you really got to stop naming people. Just got to sort of.
You don't mind if we don't mind if we use you for a bit of clickbait for this show, do you, Durbo? We'll just put the title of Durbo joins the show to name and shame half the peloton.
Yeah. The name and shame episode with Luke Durbridge.
Old school green edge to throw people on the bus.
Normally on the show, Jones is just naming and shaming himself about like stories about when he woke up in a bush on Alpe d'Huez and like shit like that. But he's taking a different tack today. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
That's right.
All good. All right, boys.
Cheers, Durbo.
Take it easy, mate.
See ya.
Thanks.
Luke Durbridge, as you said, 10th Tour de France. Fair effort.
That's good.
I did a podcast with Mitch as well the other day talking about the Tour de France that I think he's going to release mid-July. And one of those gaping holes for him coming back to Australia is because they're not big into cycling. They all ask that same question. You'd get it in New Zealand. I used to be a pro. Did you ever ride the Tour? At least you can say, yeah, I did, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I started the Tour, yeah.
Well, that's the thing that it's like Durbo's right. It's like they're not cycling fans, they're Tour fans. And like there's a massive part of people who watch the Tour de France globally every year. They tune in for like to see the landscape and the chateaus and the mountains and the you know, like the beauty of France. And that's like one of the appeals for people to watch the Tour de France. And then there's obviously the smaller group of people who are like heavily invested in the bike race itself. But nonetheless, whatever the reason may be, there's just so many eyes on the Tour.
Yeah. And I finished watching the Netflix series, the season 2. Did you watch it all?
Yeah, I did. It's good, actually.
I didn't mind it.
Yeah. It was better than the first one.
Yeah. Well, and also like they love playing up the drama. Like they obviously work backwards and they go, right, what's a big hook for this episode? What was funny was when the FDJ boss was arcing up about, you know, when the guy from Jumbo said, he saw him drinking beers, and he's just like talking to the team and he's going, this is bullshit. No one fucking says that about our riders. We go and show them. But it's in that dodgy translation. You know, they redub the voices.
Oh, I watched the subtitles better.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I watched it with the redub voices.
Yeah, he took that hard, didn't he?
Well, again, we come back to when teams feel the stress of not winning a stage or performing, you really see those cracks open up in that last week. And if you've got management or staff not able to withhold that and shield that from the riders, I reckon it sort of spreads like a cancer. Like part of the gift is being able to shield the riders from as much of that as possible. Yeah,
it's massively important, I reckon. And like if there's stress falling on the management or the sports directors, like your pressure or whatever, like it's hugely important to create a barrier. And like at a certain point, you need to put some pressure on the riders as well. But it needs to be different. You know, like there's got to be a line in the sand somewhere where you do shield the riders a little bit from that, because ultimately it just makes things harder for the riders to perform. And of course, there's times where you've got to go like, okay, guys, we need to pull finger here. But you need to communicate that in the right way. So you do have to have that shield around them a little bit for sure.
What fascinated me was the young generation, how different they are with their mindset. Like they don't follow the old school sort of Christmas tree hierarchy. If they don't get results early, and if a teammate does well or whatever, they still get the shits up. Like Pidcock, the insights there around his mentality, and when they won the stage and he was still like, oh yeah, great, but he's just pissed off that he's not performing himself.
Yeah.
That wasn't evident 10 years ago. That was all like a team first. Everyone's in it together. And if there's ever an ego, it got squashed probably internally as well.
Well, it happened because of the hierarchy back then. And the hierarchy was based on, probably wrongly when you look at how it is now, but the hierarchy was based often on age or experience or these sorts of things. Whereas now the hierarchy is based on who's the best bike rider. I don't give a fuck how old you are. So when you're 21 years old and you're at the Tour de France, or 22 years old at the Tour de France, and you're there as a leader, you've still got that youthful, like real exuberance and arrogance to some degree. And so you don't take it the same as a young guy who knows that he's there to support a guy who's older and more experienced than him, and there's no expectation or pressure on that young rider. Whereas now it's like the pressure and the expectations on whoever's the best, and it doesn't matter how old you are. And if you're a young dude and you're like not having the tour you wanted to have, like you manage it differently
because you're getting paid accordingly as well. Like these young guys are getting massive contracts.
Yeah, exactly. And they know their level, and they know they're capable of winning, and they see their teammate win, and they go, "Okay, I'm happy for you. Of course I am, but fuck, I'm as good as you."
The uncomfortable watching as well was how Ben O'Connor would have reacted to that series. When they sign up,
Gogglebox.
Yeah.
They should put all the people who are on Netflix on Gogglebox now and watch
great idea.
Watch their own show.
Because part of the contract we talked about on the show before was if you agree to be on that series, you sign a bit of paper that says when the cameras are on, they're on, and you don't get say of the edit. So when they're cutting to intimate conversations with directors in the car, laying the boots in, that must be a tough watch, I reckon, for a young bike rider, when you're seeing what they're actually saying about you in the stage and they're losing faith and they're getting frustrated with your attitude. And it just didn't cut well when Hindley took the jersey and, he really fired up about them essentially riding to help him to get to that position. And of course, the director's going to be like, listen, mate, it was a mistake, but we move on. And he didn't want to let it go. And then you start going, well, hang on, that's a fellow Aussie. You're both from WA. Isn't there even 1% of, oh, he's a mate, good on him, and move on. It was like, no, it was a tick in his brain. And then, it's like if you've got a cameraman in the bus, just right there the whole time when you're at your fucking most frustrated, that would be a pain in the ass after a while.
In some degree, I kind of saw where Ben was coming from in that sense, because it wasn't about the fact that Jai won the stage. I think he was happy with that, but it was that he was happy for Jai that he won a stage. But I think it was the way Ben saw the situation was, I'm trying to finish on a podium here, GC, and so is Jai, and we just helped give him some time.
Yeah.
I think that was where the angle where he was coming from, which like whether you're mates or not, and I don't know if they are or not, but at the same time, they are competitors in that.
But my point's more the optics, because a lot of the people that are watching it don't understand the tactics of cycling. They just know, they're fellow Aussies, and they just see the drama in it, and then they go, oh, geez, it's getting pretty animated here. And then the way they edited it, like, he's a hothead, team loses faith, now he's no longer the leader. It was all like chopped together for this narrative of he's almost like a bit of a villain.
But I guess that's Netflix objective.
100%.
They're all about the optics, not about the tactics. That's where the mismatches.
That's it.
And that's what makes it good.
Oh yeah, can't wait for season 3. Are you guys part of the series this year?
I don't know.
Fuck, it'd be good. It'd be good for your profile, mate. Global eyeballs. Be real good. See if you can drop the social distance podcast in there. Maybe you can.
Yeah, I'll take a hat just in case.
Will the team let you wear a hat in the car or what?
Well, probably not, but I can always slip it on.
I think we've got a few spares. So if anyone wants to buy a hat, I think they're still available on the Buddha store. So get on and have a look.
I'll put the link to the shop in the description of the show.
Yep.
So anyone who wants to get a merch hat or a social distance podcast hat, there's still a few available. Good time to do it because we actually launched them at the Tour de France.
We did
2 years ago, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good
Nice
times.
one.
All right. Well, good luck, mate. Wish you all the
you.
best on 2 fronts.
Yes.
Obviously with the race and then pending fatherhood, but I'm sure we're going to check in before then, because if you get back early and Hannah goes over, you might have a week where you might want to punch out a podcast.
Well, I'll take my microphone with me to the tour, and if things are going well on the rest day, we'll bang out a couple of rest day shows.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds good, mate.
All right.
All right.
Like, share,
Share, subscribe. Jinx.